Hello, it's Recap Cinema here. Today I'm going to talk about the action drama comedy film Big Brother. Henry has returned to Hong Kong after years of service in the United States military. He returns to Tak Chi Secondary, his former school, to pursue a career as a teacher. The principal notes that he has no teaching experience, but after being shown a recommendation letter from a higher official, he is hired. In the morning of Henry's first day at school, the principal informs him that the class he is assigned to teach is one of the worst in the school. When Henry walks into the classroom, he finds it in complete disarray. Some students are sleeping, others are singing, still others are playing video games, and still others are cooking ramen on a portable stove. Even after the teacher walks in, they completely ignore him and continue what they are doing. Henry attempts to pique their interest, but they pretend not to hear him. He abandons his attempt to divert their attention and walks around the classroom commenting on what they are already doing. The cooking students are asked to eat less ramen because it contains too much sodium. Henry then approaches a man named Zufa, who is playing the ukulele, and assists him. Similarly, he warns a gamer kid about the radiation he may be exposed to from staring at a screen all day. When the students finally start paying attention, he introduces himself and writes his name and phone number on the board. His handwriting is so bad that the students laugh. Someone in the class then calls him and asks him to leave, but Henry laughs it off. The kids continue to ignore him and carry on with their activities as before he arrived. Henry has had enough of a rubber band and a piece of chalk and uses them to activate the room's fire sprinkler. To avoid getting wet, the students quickly spread out. He finally has their complete attention and greets them in his class. After class, in the sports supply room, 5 of the lowest-ranking students smoke. The group's leader, Jack, has a crush on an A-grade student in another class. The others make fun of him for staring at her picture. The group has a rivalry with the school's basketball team, which is made up of wealthy and spoiled students. They enter the supply room and, as usual, mock Jack for his poverty. Later, the basketball team is practicing while Jack and the others watch from a distance. Jack spills a bottle on the court, causing the team leader to fall. Miss Liang, the school's English teacher, gives the group detention despite their laughter. To avoid detention, they pull a prank on her and flee while she is cleaning her desk. In other news, the school's principal is upset because the education board intends to cut 20% of their annual funding. At the same time, Henry walks into the classroom with the students. To prank him, the students set up a bucket of water, but his reflexes are faster than the falling bucket, and he is able to push it away. The students who had been waiting to mock him are taken aback. Henry asks for Jack's packet of cigarettes. Knowing that he smokes, Jack simply hands him the pack, curious as to what he is about to do. Then Henry asks Zufa to name the 3 ingredients that are in a cigarette. When he answers the question correctly, he is allowed to skip class for the day. Everyone starts to bang on their desks, demanding that they get to skip class as well. When they stop, he hands them all a cigarette and asks them to analyze it. Henry knows that if he simply mentions the effect it has on their health, they won't take it seriously. So instead, he asks them about the outcomes of smoking cigarettes and explains how tar forms in their lungs for the first time. They pay attention to the teacher and are actually interested in learning. After the bell rings, he asks them to return the cigarettes, and the students reluctantly agree. That day in the cafeteria, the captain of the basketball team makes one of Jack's sandwiches. Friend's Bruce tripped on his leg. This gives rise to an argument between the groups, which soon turns into a fight. They throw food and tables at each other, destroying the place. Later, Henry is informed that 5 students from his class have been temporarily suspended for starting the fight. Henry finds Jack fighting his opponent in the hallway and stops them. On being asked to calm down, Jack accuses the school of being unfair because the rich kids get no punishment that day after school. And he goes through the files of all 5 students to find out more about them. The first guy is named Zufa, the son of a Pakistani immigrant who is always discriminated against because of his race. He is often accused of stealing by the policemen in his neighborhood. Zufa's only wish in his life is to become a musician. The second student is a girl named Denon. She was a disappointment to her father ever since her birth because he always wanted a son. Her entire life, Denon has been trying to gain her father's respect. She even cut her hair to a shorter length and played with cars to pretend to be a boy. Yet her father doesn't care about her while he treats her younger brother like a prince. Then there are brothers named Bruce and Chris. Their mother ran away with a man when they were only kids, which turned their father into an alcoholic. The brothers only had each other to rely on while growing up. Bruce became obsessed with video games to escape reality, while Chris worked hard in a grocery store to make money for the family. Lastly, Henry can find no information about Jack's family background. In the following scene, we see Jack working at a restaurant as a waiter and MMA fighter. Jian Yang arrives at the restaurant with his business partners. When Jian Yang isn't looking, Jack steals his fancy lighter but is caught. Jian Yang's men beat him up as he checked Jack's ID. After finding out that he is a student, he gives him some money and offers him a job as their food delivery man. Somewhere else, Henry visits Zufa's home and finds him running away from his father and his associates. After stealing a ticket, he helps him at first, but after finding out why he is being chased, he takes the father's side. Then he and Zufa come to hang out at a bridge. To motivate Zufa into doing whatever he wants, Henry sings with a band, performing in the streets. Seconds later, Zufa joins him and sings in front of people for the first time since being bullied at school years ago. Meanwhile, Bruce and Chris's father comes home late like always and orders them to bring him a beer from the store when the brothers refuse. He yells at them to get out of his house. The next day, Henry meets with their father and convinces him to send his son to rehab for his own well-being. In the meantime, Denon's father brings her a bag of makeup products and asks her to act like a girl because she once was honest. Furious at him for always making her feel like she is not good enough, she applies the makeup on her younger brother and sneaks out of the house with the car key. She is about to drive away in her father's car, but is stopped by Henry at the right moment. He tells her that driving without a license is illegal and suggests an alternative. Following that, they go to a go-kart racetrack. Henry also invites her father and makes them race. The father and daughter show no mercy to each other during the race and eventually end up outside. The track suddenly demands that go-kart be hit by a vehicle, but she manages to dodge it. Unaware of this, her father cries, mourning his daughter's death. Denon realizes that he does, in fact, love her and hugs him. The next day at school, Bruce and Chris, along with a group, are sent to a rehabilitation center. When they have to interview a recovering alcoholic, they're surprised to see that the person they have to interview is their father. The students ask him how he started to drink. The man answers that he loved his wife dearly, but she left him at the lowest point of his life. Hence, he started to drink and forgot that he had 2 kids to take care of. The man doesn't reveal that Bruce and Chris are his sons, but he apologizes to them. By the end of it, the brothers are left crying somewhere else. Jack has started to work better for the M.A. Jian Yang. He offers Jack a lot of money. The fighters drink this drug in the next game. Jack is reluctant but is forced into accepting the offer. On the day of the fight, Jian Yang sponsors a fighter but bets money on his loss. Jack puts drugs in the fighter's drinks but is caught while doing so. Before he can blame Jian Yang, he is beaten up and locked inside a locker. A while later, Henry arrives there and asks the fighters if they have seen his student. The man asked him to return home, but Jack, from inside the locker, yells for help after finding out is being trapped. Henry attacks them and overpowers them easily. When the fighters step in, it gets a bit intense, but Henry dodges their attacks efficiently. By the end of it, he knocks out their best fighter, who is supposed to compete in a few minutes. In the following scene, they are at a hospital where Henry gets treated for his wounds. Jack tries to reveal the truth about Jian Yang but is made to shut up. The news makes it to television, and Henry starts being known as the man who beat up a professional fighter to save his students' popularity. He grows in school, and the students start to respect him. They even get up to welcome him to the class, in contrast to how they were earlier. A flashback shows us that Henry used to be a prankster when he was in school. He even threw water balloons at a student who was playing piano for the parents at an event. Later, he fought the same student and broke his hand. He was suspended for the fight, after which he had to fly to the States. Starting that day, the students pay attention when Henry teaches in class and study hard for the upcoming semester. Entrance test. Everyone is doing great except Bruce, who has grown addicted to pills. It turns out that while Charlie turned to video games to avoid his family's problems, Bruce started doing drugs. Because he is unfocused. He does it very badly. In the mock entrance test, Henry promises to help him, but Bruce grows more depressed with time. Eventually, he jumps off the balcony of his house. He is rushed to the hospital and goes into a coma. The media twists the news and blames it on the school. And Henry for what? Bruce. Read the officials from the education board interview Henry and decide to revoke his teaching license. When he packs his things and leaves the school, the students chase him, asking him to stay. They are heartbroken by his absence, but they know that they should ace their upcoming test to make him proud. From that day on, they studied twice as hard to prove to the board that Henry was a good teacher. On the day of the test, Jack and all of his classmates get a text from Henry asking them to meet at the school an hour before the exam. And the students gather. They find out that it was Johnny Yang's trick to keep them confined in the school so they wouldn't make it to the examination hall on time. He is doing this to teach Henry a lesson. A while later, Henry arrives at school and finds out about Johnny's plan. He lets the students go free and fights all of Jin Young's people to stop them from harming the children. They escape and quickly make their way to the examination hall while Henry fights Jin Young. While they are fighting one-on-one, Jin Yang reveals that he was the guy who Henry had balloons thrown at him when he was little. It turns out that ever since Henry broke his arm, he hasn't been able to compete in a big music competition. Ever since the incident, he hasn't touched a piano and blames Henry for ruining his dream. Henry tries to reason with him, but he's attacked yet again. They struggle to get a hold of a knife. At last, Henry gets into a chase to kill him but doesn't do it. He asks for forgiveness for what he did when he was little and walks away. The students reached the examination hall at the right time. And when the test was completed a few weeks later, they all passed with flying colors. Jin Yang starts to play the piano again, but has a lot of practice to do before he gets as good as he used to be. Bruce recovers quickly and promises to attend the next year's entrance test. The principal is also delighted because the board decides to give them a 20% bonus fund because their students did very well in the entrance test. Henry returns to teaching and does the fire sprinkler trick on another batch of students. Subscribe for more videos like this and enable notifications. And please leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.